you what are the contents I'm going to cover. So I'm going to teach you Spring's core. Like you have learned core Java, OOPS principle. Similarly, if you want to learn the Springs properly, you should have the basic knowledge. So Spring core first I'm going to cover. Spring core we are going to cover. So this is a very basic concepts, guys, related to Springs. So in case of Java, you are going to learn how to declare variable, how to like what is identifier, how compilation and execution will happen, who is going to compile the code, each and everything, guys, I'm going to cover in Spring's core. In the sense, not in case of with respect to Java, with respect to Spring, how code will be compiled, who is responsible. So guys, once this is done, guys, we will go for Spring. We'll go for Spring data integration. Once this is done, if you want, you can copy down, guys, later. Yeah. So here we are going to learn Spring data integration. So here data integration is nothing but how we can store the data with the help of Spring, how we can persist the data permanently, or how we can store the data in the database. So normally, guys, before Spring also we have learned JDBC and we have learned Hibernate. So here also we are going to learn JDBC Spring module. Here also we will learn JDBC Spring module. So we will see like normally how we used to connect our Java application with database. Now we will learn here how we can connect our Java application and database by using JDBC Spring framework. Yeah. After that, once it is done, we'll go for next topic, that is ORM, Object Relational Mapping. So once we are done with JDBC, we'll go for ORM. So that is nothing but Object Relational Mapping. We have different Object Relational Mapping as something as Hibernate and so many. So in our class, we are going to make use of again Hibernate itself. Now, once this is done, so this is your first module we are going to discuss. After that, we'll discuss second module. After that, we'll go for third module. So in third module, we will discuss Spring Web. We'll discuss Spring Web. Like here, we will discuss what is MVC, model view controller. What is the use of MVC? So here we'll discuss Spring Web and we'll connect our HTML and frontend with the Spring programs. So that's what we'll discuss here as MVC Spring module. Once it is done, we'll go for, if time permits, even we'll see, guys, Spring Boot. Even we'll go for Spring Boot. So these are the 4 major modules we have to cover. If you want to become punter, if you want to become perfect, if you want to become, if you want to become good developer, if you want to become good Java developer, then in case of Springs is mandatory, guys. You go for any company. Now directly they'll ask framework. Now they are not giving that much priority for your core Java and J2EE, guys. Yeah, obviously JDBC is required, but directly if you are going for a company, if you know framework properly, then chances of getting placed is more. So that's what we have 4 modules. We have to discuss it one by one. First we'll see Spring core, then we'll go for Spring data integration, that is JDBC Spring, and ORM, that is Hibernate. We are going to make use of it. Next, we'll go for Spring Web, that is we will learn MVC architecture. What is MVC? So already we know what is MVC. That is we have, it is nothing but it's a design pattern. Just we have discussed like small overview in case of JDBC. So here we are going to learn in depth. Now after that Spring Web, we will go for Spring Boot. Again, this is very important module. Spring Boot, guys, it is very important module. Now few of you will say, sir, I want to learn Spring Boot directly. You will say, I want to learn Spring Boot directly. So guys, you cannot learn. It is not at all possible to learn Spring Boot directly. So Spring Boot is nothing but it is just a module. It is just a part of Sprints. It is not a different technology. It is just a part of Sprints. So if you want to learn Spring Boot neatly, perfectly, you should know Spring Core, then data integration module, and then MVC at least. Yes, Spring. If you want to learn, guys, Springs properly, then you should know few things. So obviously, since we are going to learn the framework of Java, so you should know core Java. So we are going to deal with database, because with the help of Spring you can design the application. So we are going to deal with database. So obviously you should know SQL. Now you have to connect your Java application database. So obviously you should know JDBC module. Now similarly you have to connect your front end backend. So you should know servlet, at least basics of servlet. Next, after servlet you should know basics of Hibernate. Basics of Hibernate. So Springs was invented by Lord Johnson. Now guys, already we had many technology. Why Spring? We had JDBC, we had Hibernate, we have these many things. But why Spring? So guys, coming about Spring, Spring is nothing but it is a framework of framework. It is a framework of framework, and it is going to support each and everything, guys. It will support your JDBC, it will support your it will support your Hibernate and so many things. So coming about Springs, guys, it is going to support a very important and very beautiful concept, that is dependency injection. So if you are a developer, so for the people who is going to work in the industry, this term is very friendly or familiar for them. What is dependency injection? But since you are learning, the time you will have dependency injection, guys, you will think, what is this? Is it a very difficult thing and all? So that's what the very important or very big disadvantage of Spring is, that it is going to support dependency injection. Now, whenever we are going to write a code with the JDBC, so in case of JDBC, we have to follow all the steps one by one. We have to load the driver class, we have to establish the connection, and so many things. But in case of Springs, even Spring is going to support JDBC module. So in case of Springs, if you want to make use of JDBC, then just you have to import one JDBC template. Just you have to import JDBC template, and all the steps will be executed by default. Yeah, so Spring is going to give these type of facility, like no need to write more code. In case of JDBC, if you go for normal JDBC, you have to complete your 7 steps. But in case of Spring JDBC, Spring module of JDBC, here no need to cover the steps one by one. Directly, you can import the JDBC template from the Spring module and you can use it. Similarly, in case of Hibernate, guys, in case of Hibernate, if you want to store the object permanently, then you have to create the object for configuration, session factory, session, and these many things. So again, guys, in case of Spring framework, no need to do that. Just you have to make use of Hibernate template. So what are these things? We'll discuss, guys, one by one. So just concentrate, don't miss the class. So basically, Spring is nothing but, guys, it is a lightweight framework. Spring is nothing but, guys, it is a lightweight framework, and it is also known as framework of frameworks. It's also known as framework of frameworks because it will provide support for other frameworks. Because it's going to provide support for other frameworks or API. So it will provide support for JDBC, it will provide support for Hibernate and so many things. And it was invented by Lord Johnson in the year 2003. Now guys, why Spring? Now you will have doubts, sir. Already we have learned many things. So hold on, we'll discuss each and everything in depth. Why Spring? Why not any other technology? Why we need Spring? So hold on, we'll discuss each and everything one by one, guys. It will support dependency injection. Or we can say, guys, let's say Spring is a dependency injection framework, which is used to achieve loose coupling between Java application. So guys, now since this dependency injection is supported by Spring, so with the help of Spring, we can achieve loose coupling. Now what is dependency injection, guys? No need to worry, we discuss that also. So now let's say guys, all of us is going to use laptop. All of us is going to use laptop. So what we people, being a user, what we will do, guys, we will buy the laptop from the market. They will buy the laptop from market. So guys, laptop contains multiple component. Laptop contains multiple component. So laptop can have hard disk. Laptop can have laptop and hard disk. It can have hard disk. It can have keyboard. It can have mouse, touchpad, basically, and so many things. So guys, let's say this laptop is from HP company. This laptop, guys, is from HP company. So whether all these hardware, keyboard, touchpad, these things has been developed by HP only. Yes, these things has been developed by HP only. So if a laptop is from HP, so if a laptop is from HP, guys, these things will be developed by some third party. These things will be developed by third party. So what HP people will do? HP people will buy these modules. HP people will buy these modules, or HP people, what they'll do? They'll configure, they'll buy the modules and then just add it, the component in their laptop. So that's what. So can I say, guys, laptop is a one object. Laptop is a one object, and let's say hard disk is another object. So without hard disk, laptop will not work. So laptop is one object and hard disk is one object. So now can I say, guys, this hard disk is required. Hard disk is required in laptop. Hard disk is required in laptop. Without hard disk, this laptop is not going to work. So guys, can I say this laptop is dependent on hard disk? Laptop is dependent on hard disk. So without hard disk, laptop is nothing. It will not going to work. Similarly, without keyboard, laptop is not going to work. So all these modules, if we will configure, if we will add all these modules, then only we will get the laptop. So can I say, guys, so this laptop is nothing but object. We can say, guys, this laptop is nothing but one object. Now this laptop object is dependent on another object. This laptop is dependent on another object. So let's say we want here hard disk. Next we want mouse or touchpad. Next we need keyboard. So all these component is required to build a good laptop. Now in the market, again, we will have different range of laptop. So if you are going to insert, or if you are going to add good hard disk, you can produce good laptop. So many things, guys. So can I say this laptop is dependent on hard disk? So laptop is one object and hard disk is one object. So in real world, let's say in case of this laptop, guys, this laptop is dependent on hard disk. So if you will go in terms of programming, then if you want to write a program, then what you can do, you can create a class laptop. Then you will create a class hard disk. Hard disk. Now, since this hard disk is required in laptop, so we should have the functionality of hard disk in laptop. Since guys, in this laptop, hard disk is required. So we should have the functionality of hard disk in laptop. Without hard disk, laptop will not work. So can I say this laptop is dependent on this hard disk? If I'm going to add good module of hard disk, if I'm going to insert or if I'm going to add good quality of hard disk, my laptop will be good. So completely, I can say this laptop component is dependent on hard disk. This laptop component is dependent on hard disk. So now guys, what we have to do, I need to use the property of hard disk in laptop. So what we can do guys, if you want to access the property of hard disk in laptop, what you can do? So what we have to do guys, we have to create the object. So we'll say hard disk A equals to new hard disk. So guys, can I say here, we are creating one object since this laptop, once again, for this laptop hard disk is required. So what we are doing, we are creating an object. We are creating an object of hard disk and we are passing for the laptop. We are creating the object of hard disk and we are passing for the hard disk. Now let's say currently this hard disk class is having two methods, M1 method and M2 method. M1 method and M2 method. So if you create the object, so what you will do, if you want the functionality of M1 method, you will say A dot M1. Similarly, you will say A dot M2. You will say these things to access the functionality. So now, currently guys, you have created the object. So here basically user has created the object explicitly and user is going to add the property. User has created the object explicitly and user is adding the resource or user is adding the property of hard disk into laptop. What if guys, in future, I'll change the implementation? In the sense, what if I add some feature? What if in future I add some new functionality to this hard disk class? Let's say I add one more functionality, M3 and M4. So what we have to do in future, if I'm going to add this functionality, then what we have to do guys? So again, we have to change this particular laptop class. Again, we have to change this particular laptop class. In the sense, we have to call these two methods. So can I say if I'm going to create the object of one entity inside another entity, if I'm going to make change for another entity, one entity will be affected. In the sense, if I'm going to make change for hard disk, a laptop module or laptop object will be affected because we are creating the object. Yeah, we are creating it to type coupling. That's what it leads to, nothing but type coupling. It leads to type coupling because if I'm going to make any change in hard disk, it will affect your laptop. So guys, what Spring Framework says? Being a programmer, Spring Framework says to the programmer, you don't take tension to create the object. Being a programmer, guys, if you're going to make use of Spring Framework will say to the user or programmer, if you're going to use us, don't take tension to create the object. Don't take tension to create the object. So in case of Spring Framework, guys, we are not going to create the object manually. So Spring Framework itself, it will create the object at runtime. Spring Framework, guys, it will create the object at runtime and it will inject into the particular class or particular object wherever object is required. So that's what guys, if we are going to create the object here manually, then it leads to tight coupling. So Spring Framework is going to say, don't take tension. If you are going to use Spring Framework, don't take tension. We will only create the object. We will only create the object for you at runtime. It will not create the object at compilation time. In case of Spring Framework, object will be created at the runtime. So guys, what is dependency injection? Dependency injection is a technique in which an object receives another object that it depends on. So let's going to make use of these two classes. So if we are going to use Spring Framework, then no need to create the object. Automatically, this object will be created by Spring Framework. Laptop depends upon hard disk. So automatically, laptop is going to get the object of hard disk. But Spring is not a Superman. We have to say to the Spring, you have to create object and all. Yes, Spring is not a Superman and Superwoman. How Spring will get to know that here I need to create the object for this and how we have to configure in this laptop class, we have to create the object of hard disk, or in this hard disk class, we have to create the object of laptop. So guys, that we have to specify to the Spring Framework by using either XML file or by using annotation. But remember, in case of Spring Framework, object will be created by framework itself at runtime. If you want to define dependency injection is nothing but basically it is a design pattern. Basically guys, this dependency injection is nothing but it is a design pattern. You know what is design pattern? We have done in case of your J2EE. It is an optimized solution for commonly recurring problem. So basically this dependency injection is nothing but it's a design pattern which is going to create the object of one class into another class, which objects required or wherever there is a requirement of object. So what is dependency injection? In the sense, dependency injection is a design pattern that are used to remove dependency from the program. So that's what, if you are going to make sense, Spring is going to support dependency injection, so no need to create the object. It will be done by Spring itself. Now, This makes the code easier to test and maintain class. Here we have two classes, Ramu and Geeta. Ramu and Geeta. Now, Ramu, Geeta can, let's say here Geeta is able to perform their work. Geeta can do her work, but we have one more object, Ramu. Now, Ramu is dependent on Geeta. Ramu is dependent on Geeta. Without Geeta, Ramu cannot complete his work. Without Geeta, Ramu cannot complete his work. So here Ramu wants help of Geeta. So here basically Ramu is dependent on Geeta, guys. Here Ramu is dependent on Geeta. So what we have to do here, basically Ramu want? Ramu want the help of Geeta, or Ramu want the property of Geeta here. So what we have to do, we have to create the object of Geeta, because Ramu is dependent on Geeta. So what we have to do, we have to create the object of Geeta and we have to inject in Ramu class. But hold on, in case of Springs, it will be done by Spring Framework itself. So the object of Geeta will be injected to Ramu class at the runtime. So basically, what is dependency injection? So it is a design pattern where one dependent class will get the object of another class. One dependent class will get the object of another class at runtime. I hope, guys, what is dependency injection is clear for you. So here we have to discuss the different layers of Spring and JEE, Java Enterprise Edition. So guys, basically whenever you are going to design any application, we need three different layers. Yeah, three different logics are involved, as well as we need three different layers. So we will have something as UI layer. So you know what is UI layer, guys? Yeah, it is nothing but interface. With the help of that, user can get in touch with your like you can say with any application. So something as HTML, these are nothing but your UI layer. Next, after UI layer, guys, we need one more layer, that is your business layer. That is your business layer. So we will have UI layer, next we will have business layer. Next we are going to, once we have completed UI layer, so it is nothing but basically it is an interface. With the help of that, user can interact with any application. So if you want to interact with Facebook, you need a UI, you need a front end. That is your UI layer. After business layer, we'll have, so inside business layer, we are going to like some logic. Yes, after we will have data access layer. So whenever we are going to design any application, guys, these many layers will be the same. So first we will have UI layer, next we will have business layer, next we will have data access layer, and then we will have something as database. Then we will have database. With the help of these data access layer, we can interact with database. Yes. Now similarly, these are the layers we need whenever we design any application, guys. Now if you will talk in terms of programming, then we should have one layer, or we should have a class by name product controller, which is going to control your application, or which is going to control your product. So whenever you're going to design any application, we will have UI layer, but in terms of programming, we will say it as a product controller. Next, we will have one layer, that is your product service. So once the product controller is created, so even that particular product is going to give some service. So first we'll have product controller layer, next we'll have product service, next we'll have product DAO. With the help of this, user can fetch it. User can interact. So basically, if I talk in case of Java, in case of Springs, these are nothing but class. Guys, class. Now again, if you want to access, guys, if you want to access the functionality, of product DAO into product service, what we have to do? Yes, if you want to access the functionality of product DAO into product service, what we have to do, guys? Inside this product service, we have to create the object of product DAO, and then we have to call the functionality. Similarly, if you want to access the functionality of product service inside product controller, again we have to create the object of product service. So guys, these objects we are going to create, if you are going to create at compilation time manually, then again it will lead to tight coupling. So what we will do, again Spring will say don't create the object, we will only inject the object at runtime. So that can be done by using dependency injection. So at runtime, just we have to specify to the Spring where to inject the object. So automatically at runtime, Spring Framework is going to inject the object. So the object of product DAO will be injected inside product service. Similarly, product service object will be injected in product controller. This injection of the object will happen at runtime by Spring itself. Now, so guys, to design these layers, Spring Framework is having different modules. So if you want to design UI layer, Spring Framework will say, don't take tension, we'll give you one module. Similarly, if you want to design business layer, again, these people will say, don't take tension, we'll give you one module. Being a programmer, just use that module and design a business layer. Similarly, for data access layer, they have one module. Yes. So guys, for this, if you want to design UI layer in terms of Spring, so you can go for Spring MVC module. You can go for Spring MVC module. If you want to design business layer, so you can go for transaction management. You can go for transaction management. So this is again a module of Spring. Again, if you want to design a data access layer, so you can go for Spring MVC. You can go for Spring JDBC. Sorry, you can go for Spring JDBC, or you can go for Spring ORM. So for each and every layer, guys, Spring Framework is going to provide a module to the user. So no need to worry, just you have to use that module and you have to design the layer. If you want to design UI layer, you will go for Spring MVC module. If you want to design business layer, you'll go for transaction management module. If you want to design data layer, you can go for either Spring JDBC module or you can go for ORM JDBC module. So guys, in case of Springs, being a programmer, we are not going to create the object manually at the compilation time. Just we have to specify it to the Spring framework. So at runtime, Spring framework will inject one object in another class or another object wherever it is required. And for all these layers, we will have different modules. Clear, guys? So guys, clear, I hope. That is some idea you got, right? We learn each and everything one by one, don't worry. Just I'm explaining the things theoretically. So guys, right on next subheading. So these all topic, whatever we are going to discuss today is related with your dependency injection itself. Yeah. So next is IOC. So IOC stands for inversion of control. Stands for inversion of control. So next is nothing but IOC stands for inversion of control. So guys, by looking this IOC big term, you can say what the hell it is. But trust me guys, it's just a basic concept of Springs. Yeah. So guys, any guess what can be IOC? Yes. So IOC stands for inversion of control. So IOC is nothing but guys, it is a process. Basically guys, IOC is nothing but it is a process where Spring framework will inject one object into another object. So if you want to determine this term, what is dependency injection? In the sense, like in case of dependency injection, we are going to insert one object inside another object, and this process is known as inversion of control. Yes. What is dependency injection, guys? It is nothing but in case of dependency injection, we are going to insert one object inside another object, and this complete procedure is nothing but inversion of control. IOC. So what is IOC in the sense? Again, I'll repeat. Inversion of control is a process where Spring framework will inject one object into another object. Will inject one object into another object, and it will be done by Spring framework at runtime dynamically. And this object will be injected. This one object will be injected inside another object at the runtime, and it will be of dynamic type. It is not static type. It will be of dynamic type. So based on object required, the object will be injected dynamically. So this complete process is known as inversion of control. This complete process is known as inversion of control. Now, in case of, so guys, as we discussed, in case of Spring framework, what is going to happen? One object will be injected inside another object. So that is nothing. One object injected inside another object, it is known as dependency injection. And this complete procedure is known as inversion of control. This complete procedure is known as inversion of control. And these inversion of control, or one object is injected inside another object with the help of IOC container. So you know what is dependency injection? So here one object inserted or injected inside another object. What is IOC? This complete process of injecting one object inside another object at the runtime dynamically is known as IOC. Now who is responsible to inject one object inside another object? That's nothing but your IOC container. So even IOC container is having few more functionality. In upcoming class, we will learn all the functionality. But now remember guys, who is going to inject the object? So the object will be injected by IOC container. It will be injected by Spring framework IOC container. Yes. Now, what can be the advantage of dependency injection? So first advantage, guys, whenever we are going to inject the object at runtime dynamically, it leads to loose coupling between the object. Now, it leads to loose coupling. Loose coupling is maintained. Very good. Now, whenever in case of Springs, we will have different modules. If you want to perform one operation, we will have one module. If you want to perform second operation, we will have different modules. So here, if we are going to inject one object inside another object, if we are going to use multiple modules, then testing of the code becomes easy. So mainly guys, for dependency injection, we have two main advantages. That is, it leads to loose coupling between the object, because here object will be created at runtime. Next, whenever we are going to inject one object inside another object, so obviously we will have different modules. So testing of one module is easy compared to testing multiple related modules. So because of dependency injection, testing of code becomes easy. So easily code will be tested. So guys, once again I'll repeat what is dependency injection. So in case of dependency injection, one object will be injected inside another object at the runtime. Now this complete procedure is known as IOC. Now who is going to inject one object inside another object? So it is done by IOC container. It is done by IOC container. So for IOC container, one of the functionality is to inject one object inside another object as runtime. Yes. So what is IOC container? Basically, IOC container, you can say guys, it is a container present inside Spring Framework. Even we'll see the IOC container in there. No need to worry. So guys, whatever points we discussed, is it clear what is IOC and what is IOC container? What is the advantage of dependency injection? What is dependency injection? Is it clear for everyone? Let us go for next small topic that is very important. You can say your IOC container. These concepts are related to each other, guys. Next is IOC container. So guys, if you remember, in case of servlet, we have learned JEE container. Yes, if you remember guys, in case of servlet, we have learned JEE container. So what is the use of JEE container guys basically? So guys, one main functionality we have discussed, that is JEE container used to manage the life cycle of servlet. Remember, JEE container used to manage the life cycle of servlet. At last, we have discussed that. So JEE container, one of the main functionality is going to manage the life cycle of the servlet. It can manage the applications and so many functionality we have. So next here is IOC container. Even guys, IOC container is going to perform same functionality. So in case of servlet, JEE container is going to manage the life cycle of servlet. In case of Spring, in case of Spring guys, this IOC container, in case of Spring, IOC container is going to manage the life cycle of Spring object. So IOC container guys, it is going to manage the life cycle of Spring object. But in case of Spring, we will not say object, we will say it as a bean. So basically, IOC container is going to manage it is going to manage the life cycle of Spring bean, or you can say object of the bean, or just you can say it will manage the life cycle of bean. That's what the Spring container is, nothing but it is the core of Spring Framework, and this container is used to create the object and it is used to configure. It will create the object, it will configure the object, as well as it is going to manage the life cycle. Now, Spring IOC container, basically it is going to manage the complete life cycle from creation to destruction. So this IOC container is going to manage the complete life cycle from creation to its destruction. Now, coming about IOC container, it uses basically, again, this IOC container is going to make use of dependency injection. Yes, this IOC container guys, it is going to make use of dependency injection to manage the component. Yes, this IOC container will internally use dependency injection to manage the component, and these objects are nothing but beans. These objects are known as beans. So in short, what you can say IOC container, it is a Spring container which is used for creation, which is used for creating the object and configure them. And internally, IOC container makes use of dependency injection to manage the life cycle of object. And this object, in terms of Spring, we can say it is nothing but it is a bean. It's nothing but bean. Now, again, this IOC container is of different types. In case of Spring guys, this IOC container is broadly classified into two types. It's broadly classified guys into two types. So first is Spring. First type is Spring Bean Factory container. Spring Bean Factory container. So first type of IOC container is Spring Bean Factory container, and second one is Spring Application Context. Spring Application Context container. Yes, so guys, you know what is the functionality of IOC in single word. If you want to explain, IOC container creates the Spring object known as beans, and it is going to manage the complete life cycle of Spring object from creation to destruction. And internally, IOC container makes use of dependency injection. IOC container makes use of dependency injection. Now, coming about IOC container types, we have basically two different types. First is Spring Bean Factory container, and second is Spring Application Context container. So guys, all of you take down subheading as IOC container and please copy down the points. So guys, okay. So guys, now like basically how IOC container will get to know, we have to create the object. Yes, how IOC container will get to know I need to create the object for bean class, or I need to create the object. Yeah, how IOC container will get to know I need to create the object for this particular class section. Yes guys, any guess how? So guys, if you want to, so we have to specify, we have to tell to the IOC, we have to tell to the IOC container by using configuration file. We have to specify to the IOC container, create the object for this particular class at the runtime and inject one object inside another object. These everything we have to specify in the configuration file. In case of Hibernate also guys, we used to have one Hibernate CLC configuration. So there we used to define the property. Here also we have to say to the IOC container, we have to specify to the IOC container to inject this particular object inside this object, or create the object or create the bean for this class. So that we have to specify either by using a XML file or by using annotation. So we have to say these, we have to perform configuration in case of Spring either by using XML or by using annotation. So again, if you are going for annotations, we have different types. Only we will discuss each and everything one by one. Before going for these things, configuration guys, and what is like how exactly it is going to happen. Before that, we have to learn what are different types of IOC container we have. What are different types of IOC container we have in case of Spring. So that's what this IOC container guys, it is broadly classified into two types. So first is Bean Factory. First is, you can see here guys, first is Bean Factory, and second one is application context. So guys, these both are nothing but it is an interface. These Bean Factory or application context are nothing but these are the interface. It is not a class. Yes, it is not a class guys, it is an interface. So first we'll discuss what is Spring Bean Factory container. So basically guys, coming about Spring Bean Factory container, it is the simplest container, or you can say it is a basic container provided by Spring. Now, this Bean Factory container, it will not support all dependency injection. So it is going to support only few dependency injection. Again, we have different types of dependency injection. We'll discuss that, don't need to worry. So guys, coming about Spring Bean Factory container, it is the simplest container which provides basic support of dependency injection. It's going to provide basic support of dependency injection, and it is present. Basically, it is nothing but it is an interface. So it is present in a package org.spring framework. Is present in a package org.spring framework dot bins dot factory dot bean factory. So guys, no need to remember this package. Don't take tension at all. It will import it automatically. So this bean factory is nothing but it is a type of IOC container which is going to support only few dependency injection, and it is present in a package org.spring framework.bean.factory.bean factory. So basically, it is a interface. So since it's an interface, we cannot create object. So since it's an interface, guys, we cannot create object. So we have to make use of implementation class. We have to make use of implementation class. So guys, coming about Bean Factory, coming about this Bean Factory, it is nothing but it is a basic container, and even it will not support all the dependency injection. So in most of the case, we will not use Bean Factory container. Rarely we will use Bean Factory container. So in most of the case, we'll go for application context. We'll go for application context. But if someone will ask what is Bean Factory, you have to say it is a basic container present in a package org.spring framework.bean.factory.bean factory, and basically it is an interface and it supports only few dependency injection. Now, next type is application context. So guys, coming about application context, it is an advanced container. So basically, it is nothing but your basic container, But coming about this application context, it is nothing but it is an advanced container, and in most of the case, we'll use this container itself. So application context is an advanced container, and it is present in same package. You can say org.spring framework. So here we use Bean, but here we will use, okay, let me give the fully qualified class name better. Don't you remember, but still should have an idea at least, so that you can import. Coming about this application context, since it is a advanced container, so it will support all the dependency injection. This application context base, it will support all the dependency injection, and even it has all the functionality of Bean Factory container. Yes, so it is going to support guys all dependency injection. Okay, yeah, it is going to support all the dependency injection, and whatever functionality Bean Factory is having, it contains all the functionality. Addition of that, it contains his or its own functionality. So application context container contains his own functionality as well as all the functionality of Bean Factory. Both container are interface. So even it is an interface, so if it is an interface, we cannot create object, you know guys. Since it is an interface, we cannot create object. So we have to make use of implementation class. We are not able to create object, guys, so we have to make use of implementation class. So it contains, this application context container contains multiple, it contains multiple implementation class. First implementation class of application context is file system XML application context. Second one annotation config application context. Annotation config application context, and we have many more, but in most of the case we will use these two guys. So these are the, so since guys this application context, as I said, it is nothing but it is an interface. It is an interface, so we cannot create the object. So if you want to access the functionality, we have to make use of its implementation class. We have to use implementation class. So it contains a number of implementation class. But in most of the case, we will use these two implementation class. That is, first is file system XML application context, and second is annotation config application context. So guys, I'll repeat once again. Listen carefully. Now coming about, I guess what is IOC container we discussed already. So coming about IOC container, it is of two types. So first is your Bean Factory. First is your Bean Factory. Now it is your simplest container, and it will support basic DI. In the sense, it will support for basic dependency injection, and is present in org.springframework.pins.factory. And since it's an interface, we cannot create objects, so we have to make use of implementations class. Now, this is the first type. Coming about second type is application context. So it is nothing but it is an advanced container, and it is defined by org.springframework.context.application context. Now, coming about this container, it has all its functionality, but addition of it, it has even Bean Factory. Even it has Bean Factory container functionality. So it is highly recommended to go for this application context container instead of Bean Factory. And few of the implementation classes, of application context are file system, XML application context, annotation config, and so on. So in most of the case, we will go for, if you are going to configure your IOC container by using XML, we will go for this file system XML application context. If you are going to configure your IOC container by using annotation, we'll go for this particular implementation class. Now, whenever you are going to design any web application, in that case, you'll go for these two containers. You will go for these two, basically implementation class, not the container. So guys, I hope you got some idea about the containers and its different types, which one we have to use, and what is the advantage and what is the difference among these two.